episode, we speak with Steve Nouri, a data science leader, chief AI evangelist, founder of AI for Diversity. That's how we connected in the first place a couple of years ago, and a board member of Generative AI. So much to discuss, Steve. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Vidhi.
Yeah. So, Steve, we generally talk about all things scale on the podcast, starting from how to scale AI initiatives, the challenges that one faces during the journey, the leader's very own unique career trajectories, and the mental models they follow for taking those critical decisions, and many more. So as we start our conversation today, I'm sure the listeners, they would like to know your career journey to scale.
Yeah, mine was a very boring one. A lot of people come up with something very interesting and fun. They start with something that is totally not related to AI, and they finally end up with a career in AI. So I guess mine was straightforward. I started as a software engineer. I did my bachelor in software engineering. I was a programming dude for a very long time, working on different projects, making, connecting to databases, querying SQLs. And I guess after around 10 years, I kind of got to know data science and data analytics. It was not a random thing because, I was always working with databases, but essentially the terminology and the whole career aspect was a little bit new. So I did my master's in data analytics and data mining, which, sounds right now to be an ancient terminology. It used to mean something which we call it data science right now, but I guess if we call it data mining, a lot of people might think it's related to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. After that, I did a career transition. I was head of data science for startups, scale-ups, and public sector organizations. I was head of data science at Data 61, which is a national research center here in Australia, and also Australian Computer Society. I was also a lecturer at university, and I was lecturing the advanced data analytics, which, the title looks very interesting, but what we were teaching was mostly deep learning, which in today's measures doesn't look very advanced. And recently I've been more involved in advisory roles and helping other companies to understand how they can leverage AI internally, or generating products and services that would help people to leverage AI in their own projects.
All right. So, Steve, I also understand that you're a chief AI evangelist, but I think this term evangelist or AI evangelist is also something that not many in the industry are still familiar about. So would you like to share more about what is this role and what does an AI evangelist effectively does? Yeah.
Of course. That's an advisory role that I have with a scale up in Israel. It's called Wand, and comes from magical sort of a process that will help non-coders to be able to generate AI models just by connecting to their data sources and following the steps. So it's a no-code platform, no-code/low-code platform for business experts and subject matter experts to be able to do what is essentially very expensive. It means that generating models. My role is as an advisor. It's a mixture of things. I'm working closely with the product team, marketing team, and also the customer success team. And it's a couple of, I guess, all of them have their own deliverables. I would be helping them to understand better about the journey that they need to follow to align their product to our communities or our users. And that's a community-led growth or product-led growth strategy. And also I'll be helping the marketing team to understand how to better connect with the audience and with the users, how to I guess make sure that the products gets enough visibility across the different media platforms. And finally, we will also check the results, see how much we get the traction, and understand the customer satisfaction, get the feedback, and follow the loop to design and deliver a better quality project.
So from Chief AI Evangelist to founder and board member of Generative AI, I know that you recently made an announcement which caught attention of the community. So talking about the Generative AI company that you've recently launched, tell me more about it, what it is.
So generative AI is a very trendy topic right now. A lot of people are interested to know about it, and many projects, platforms, new agents, plugins coming out daily, like probably 100 of them, right? That's very overwhelming, even for myself. I'll try to keep myself across all the news and latest updates, but it is just impossible. Like the FOMO is real, even for me. Whenever I go to sleep, I just feel that the whole world is going to change by the time that I wake up. So I'm sure that it's overwhelming for technical and non-technical professionals. This project is sort of a community to deliver two major tasks. One, to the users, to the professionals who want to leverage the latest, I guess, tools and stay on top of the trends. But we have the media platform where we share information, updates, news, and we try to curate content and announce the top AI platforms weekly. So that's just the content creation and for the users. We are also going to launch a marketplace where we will help entrepreneurs, the ones that are building these platforms, to be able to get connect to the audience faster, easier, and sort of in a unified platform where the higher quality projects will get the deserved attention and will not be lost in the noise. And so it's a kind of bringing two sides together. That's the first step. We have much more interesting projects coming up later. We will definitely announce it as we go, but this is, I guess, the first step, which will happen probably in the next couple of days.
And talking about generative AI, there are so many applications that you keep seeing coming every other day. So what are some of those top applications of generative AI that you personally find are very path-breaking? They are making a big difference.
I think, as you said, like many coming daily, and it is so difficult to get so deep in these applications. I mostly try to give it a try, just scan the whole ecosystem to stay on top of the updates. So I can tell you that generally I'm excited about this space because I can see the value for young entrepreneurs to be able to leverage these tools, and without a lot of hustles, they can build a business from ground up by only hiring a couple of people. It's not going to be so difficult to run a business. The marketing side can be managed by some AI which will generate the copy for you. You can leverage AI to understand your customers. You can leverage AI to target the customers. You can also generate the graphics that goes with your content. You can, if you want to pitch your project, you can generate the whole pitch deck using generative AI within a couple of minutes and just refine it, which used to take days and maybe sometimes weeks for some of these businesses to be able to do the same. And the other steps, like the planning, will be managed by other applications, and it is essentially going to make us much more productive. So I'm just excited about all of it. But the ones that are I guess making a lot of noise are about graphics and videos, specifically, like how to make sure that, like, how to generate some interesting videos or new images using just a prompt. And these are because visually appealing and very easy to make. So they probably get the most attention on social media. But the deeper down this, there are many projects that are coming up. Some of them are out there that will revolutionize the way that we're working in the office work, and we're going to be much more productive.
Yeah. So Steve, when you say a lot of jobs will be introduced and the current ones will become more productive, there is another side of it that a lot of people talk about, is that there's a fear around a lot of existing jobs being obsolete, or a lot of people might end up losing jobs because of such technological advancements. So what is your take on this?
100%. Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of jobs. That's just the harsh reality. It's no brainer. Many jobs are going to be obsolete. Some of them in short term, some of them long term. Many more will be impacted than just being wiped out. I think if you think about the percentage, I think the biggest change will happen in terms of the productivity, and that would impact the job market, because you essentially would need less people because of the higher productivity of those individuals. And that's all right. I think that's something that we need to all be conscious. At this point, the way things are moving forward, it doesn't look like that we are going to have a huge impact, negative impact on the job market, because at the same time, we see a lot of application coming up. Those applications need people to drive it, to build it, to deliver it. So just think about the both side of the arguments, that just we're going to lose a lot of jobs. That's all right. It's happening. We know about it already, but it hasn't happened in a very significant way. Like I haven't heard that like thousands of people lost their job just because there was an application that was introduced yesterday. It is more gradual, and hopefully we can upskill ourselves to be able to stay relevant and stay competitive. I guess the most difficult part of this revolution is the speed. This is not the first time that we are seeing a technology being leveraged to revolutionize an industry or the whole ecosystem. Like many of them happened before, electricity and blah and blah. I can tell you probably a bunch. But what happens is just like the gradual introduction of those technology made it a lot easier for people to adjust. And I think that would be the only challenge that we are going to address in the short term.
Absolutely. And I know that you keep sharing a lot of content through your social media post as well. And you mentioned that generative AI, your company will also have a lot of content coming out. In addition to these, what are some of the ways we all can keep our skills upskilled, or maybe how can one stay relevant in wake of such fast changes coming in the market?
Yeah, that was the problem that we sort of tackled by starting this project, because like we have information overload, right? It's just beyond comprehension. The amount of information is being generated right now. Some of them leveraging the generative AI, some of them about the generative AI, and that's just overwhelming across the board. It's there's no easy, I guess, answer for that, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you don't get behind your cohort or your other peers. So it's just like you want to watch more videos, you want to read more, you want to be part of more events, and that's understandable. But then that's where we try to, become the aggregator and sort of curator. So this generative AI project is hoping to help to, bridge that gap. But at the end of the day, it's just like you need to take your time, and you need to pick your niche. Sometimes the focus is also a good idea. Priority is very important. We can't we can't stretch ourselves that thin across everything. So maybe finding the sources, like the sources of the content, people or websites that would share the things that are very important and very targeted to what we would like to read, and also keep an open mind to generally learn more about this space from unconventional sources, rather than just keeping it to a very famous website.
Yeah. And the craze around these breakthrough developments is extraordinary. But I believe these powerful models, they also raise some questions about how responsibly we use them. And a lot of people say that technology itself cannot do anything wrong. It's how we use them that makes the difference. So what are some of the implications? Because we have already talked about the positive side of it. I just want to see, is there other side where there could be some implications coming from these large models?
I mean, that's the reality. With any powerful tool, there would be some risks. Like that's even with not so powerful tools, you would have risks. So the I think the risk will come from different dimensions and different directions. From the companies that are developing these tools, the way that these are developed, the way that they're leveraged by those companies, and then users, like the way that users are going to use these platforms, and what are the guardrails and what are the guidelines, and how they are going to impact the rest of the community. So there are like multiple fronts, right? The first bit is, to me, is more complex and deeper, because like companies like OpenAI is going to try to go into this competition to make their models better in terms of quality, and what that quality means, that's just another subject to discuss. But essentially, there would be a sort of a battle to align or to generate these new projects, and any sort of competition, there are things that you're focusing and things that will go into the second or third tier based on the importance. And I'm hoping that the ethical and sort of responsible AI checklists are going to be at least on the top 2 or 3 priorities for any of these companies. But the that's a big deal, because they're going to be leveraged by everyone, and if there's a bias or there's any sort of any ways that these models are built that would impact the whole societies, we need to be aware of it. We need to mitigate those risks, and also the users need to be totally aware of it, right? So that's from that front. But then also the problem is that these projects are very powerful, and sometimes we are not sure and we don't understand the whole premise of their power. And what happens is there would be bad actors that they can leverage this in order to generate, let's say, misinformation, deepfakes, and those things that might not be totally beneficial for the society. And it's very difficult to identify or stop it. At the same time, it might impact the economy. It might impact the job market. Lots of different implications. So I think that's one of the most important conversations that we have right now, to understand the responsible generative AI guidelines, and to know how can we enforce it to both users and also the producers of the generative AI. The problem is the industry is always faster, and they move fast, they innovate fast, and by the time that governments and the regulatory bodies are catching up, it's either late or short. There are lots of shortcomings, and a lot of people are talking about it right now and comparing it to the time that social media became very prevalent. And many of these standard makers and I guess government bodies were complacent when the social media became available, and because it was very popular, it just took the whole, I guess, world by storm. Before anybody is thinking about what are the negative impact of leveraging these tools, it became part of our lives, and now it's so difficult to dial it down or dial it back. I'm hoping that that doesn't happen the same way, and it seems that all these actors are much more active this time. There are conversations across Europe. I think, like literally yesterday, the AI Act was passed in Europe, and also the U.S. Congress is very, very keen to make sure they stay on top of this, and they make sure that they don't make the same mistake that they did with the social media. So yeah, there are lots of different ways that we can talk about this.
Yeah. And you mentioned about guardrails and having, some sort of guidelines. And I totally agree when you mentioned that the rate of development is much, much faster than the rate of regulations. So how those regulations and policies like the AI Act being passed yesterday, how can they help ensure that this technology is still working in the best interest of humanity?
I mean, there's no easy answer to that, right? This is the whole world are talking about this right now. I wish there was one sentence that I could tell you as an answer and everybody would just follow and boom. The reality is we need to keep the conversation and we need to make sure before something is deployed and used, we are 100% sure about the quality and about the delivery of that application, rather than just opening the gates and see how it goes. So essentially, public shouldn't be the testers of these platforms. We can always try to, have a group of people trying it, but just opening the hell gates to the whole world and just see what happens, I think this is not going to be the best solution. At the same time, I think sometimes, based on the speed, it's a good idea to just pause and think. I'm not talking about that particular, I guess, open letter that is talking about 6 months pause. I'm mostly thinking about the deployment of these projects into the public rather than the development. I think the development can't be stopped. It's very difficult at this point. It's more about ensuring the impact is going to be following, say, certain guardrails. What are those guardrails? We have lots of different standards related to AI that can help give us some sense of what needs to happen in terms of generative AI. I mean, it's not too far away. Generative AI is a subset of AI, and these standards and guardrails has been there for some time. ISO, International Standard Organization, IEEE, and many other organizations are working to put these sort of standards in place. Countries independently are doing similar sort of studies. Europe shared one, which was sort of a continuing of the sort of conversations that they had before. So it is not the first of the initiative. There are certain principles that if we follow, I think it will give us more hope in terms of the quality assurance, in terms of the pillars of the explainability, accountability, like those ethical framework pillars that has been there almost forever. There are some new considerations that we need to talk about, like the privacy and also the IP of the generated content, which is something that is probably much more different from what we used to think about AI. That is an open discussion still. There are some debates about each of them, like should the public data be used to train the generative AI? Should the generated content be owned by the company, people, users, public? Who is the owner? And that is all right. I mean, this is something new. We can definitely address it together. The conversations are happening right now. The collaboration needs to be closer. The involvement of the international organizations to setting guidelines like UNESCO, United Nations, like European Union, I don't know, like these sort of organizations that are much more agnostic and have a broader view of the whole world and represent the communities. They should be much more involved than just the corporates.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, there are a lot of applications that are coming every other day. And the development is not being paused at any rate. And the conversations are still ongoing. So there are multiple phases at which I believe risk comes into the picture, right? So I was reading one of the document on the European guidelines as well, which says that you need to classify the risk of your application. Is it high risk, something which or maybe something which is ultra high, and you need to altogether ban that use case. From that to high risk and low risk, and something which is 0 to minimal risk, right? So I think identifying the application and mapping it to one of these categories itself gives you an idea of the repercussions and the path you need to follow from there to the way your solution is designed. You develop the solution and then it goes to deployment and the utilization aspect of it. So once you've made it really open to market and how it is being utilized, because there are bad actors who can come into the picture. So at many places, things can go wrong. So how to ensure the accountability, one of the pillars that you also mentioned, that if something goes wrong, who should be that person or maybe the entity or the organization where the buck stops, that this should have been taken care of during the development side, or maybe when you released it to deployment, or maybe you deployed it and you released it to a wider forum, it should have been stress tested beforehand. Where should we draw the line?
Yeah, that is also like, so this is like a global open discussion about this topic, right? So what happens here is like a tool that is very complex, is going to be used by a user. Who is accountable for what? I don't think it's a 0 and 1 sort of accountability. Like, is it going to be all OpenAI or is it going to be all user? I think there is going to be a shared accountability about generating something and leveraging it and then apply it to some other, I guess, actions. So it's a mixture of all of them. So the way I can just think about it, maybe when a company makes an airplane and when the airplane crashes, you just investigate, and there are lots of reasons and lots of people will be accountable. It can be from the point that it was manufactured, the maintenance. It can be from anything can go wrong in the whole, I guess, process. And each company, person, individuals, entity needs to stay responsible for their own actions. And I think if you just rule out a responsibility of an actor, it's going to make it difficult for the whole community. It's going to be just one entity that's going to say, I'm not responsible for anything. It's the other ones, either the makers or the users, whoever it is. Ruling out one, it's not going to help.
Yeah. And the kind of developments that are happening in Gen AI, there is often extrapolation that we are doing of it moving to AGI. So what are your thoughts on this? How far or close we are to that? Because I think a couple of years ago, if somebody would have asked me, my response generally used to be, it's a little far off. It's not there in near future. Maybe a decade or a few. But then now I think the perception is changing a lot. So where do you see it going from here to AGI now?
Yeah, I mean that the complexity is in the details. Like what is AGI, right? So, but when the GPT-4 arrived, a lot of people started speculating it's a mini AGI, and that's like, all right, so what is our definition of AGI, and how can we measure it? This is going to be one of our biggest challenges of our time, that a lot of things that we are talking about the quality, about the I don't know, even the accuracy of these AI models, because of the complexity of the tasks and what we are dealing with, we are not sure about how to describe and measure it, right? So then we need to think very carefully when we call something AGI, what does that mean, and how it's going to be measured. Like, just let's say we do have an AGI right now. What is the test? Is it the Turing test? Is it like a new test that we are going to come up with? And some people are talking about being conscious. Some people are talking about sentience. It's just like, and I think if we get over these the barrier of the definitions, it will be much easier to agree on something, and then the debate would be a lot I guess easier to follow. At this point, because I'm not sure exactly how to measure AGI, I don't know exactly what we are going to call AGI in what time. By the strict definition, I think we are probably going to get some notions of that sort of intelligence by, let's say, ChatGPT 5 or 6. We will see some sort of intelligence that would be beyond our expectation. But at the same time, like we are seeing right now, intelligence beyond human intelligence in certain areas, and in the other certain areas, AI is still lagging far behind humanity.
Okay. Yeah, I think you correctly mentioned there is no way for us to at least measure it as of now. There is no yardstick with which we can say, yes, we are moving towards it, and what would be the run rate or the timeline will touch it. So let's see where it goes from here. So thanks, Steve. So I think with this, we've come to the end of the show, but there's this typically one last question I generally ask to all the guests on the show is, so what advice would you give to your younger self that would have changed, or that would have helped you in your career journey so far?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most important thing at this point of life, which is an interesting time to be alive, to see all these crazy things going on, is to stay open to the changes and to risks, and to just embrace these technologies that are coming to help humanity, although there is a risk involved in having something powerful, and to change the mindset to learn and learn how to learn, because that's just to stay relevant with this speed of change. Learning should become a skill and shouldn't be taken as granted that we can learn. We are human. That's, I guess, the advice and something that I'm following myself right now.
Okay, so I think then my takeaway is learn how to learn, because that's a really powerful statement and a suggestion which all of us in this world, we can't say that we have learned enough that we know what's happening in the space. So everyone is learning as we go ahead. So thank you for the advice, and thank you for taking the time to come to the show, Steve. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Vidhi.